Lesson 6, Unit 1. Project risks. All projects face risks. During the life of a project, there are many events that can have a negative effect on the project. They can impact the scope, schedule, budget, and quality. But most important, they can impact the results the project aims to achieve. Results that beneficiaries are expecting. This is why it's important not to let chance have control of the project. Risk is the possibility of loss or injury. Project risk is an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has an effect on at least one project objective. Failure to manage risk is one of the leading causes of project failure. Most project managers don't spend enough time to manage risk and prefer to deal with them once they become an issue. Understanding the difference between risk and an issue is an important element of risk management because the process to manage a risk is different from managing an issue. Teams often find it difficult to describe a risk, and they confuse risk with issues. But the difference is simple. A risk is a future event that may have an impact on project objectives. On the other hand, an issue is a present problem or concern influencing project objectives. Here are some examples of the difference between risk and issues. On the left, you can see three risks, all expressed as probability, something that may or not may happen. On the right is a list of issues expressed as a fact, as something that has already happened and the project needs to take actions to resolve it. The process to manage risk consists of three steps: the identification, the analysis, and the selection of response strategies to reduce or eliminate the impact of risk. The first step, risk identification, requires the participation of team members, some key stakeholders, and subject matter experts. This can be a one-day session where participants identify all the potential risks that may have an impact on the project. They can use brainstorming techniques, information from previous projects, and strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat analysis, and all risks are documented. The second step is risk analysis. Here the team evaluates each risk based on the probability of occurrence and the impact on the project objectives. Not all risks are equal. Some risks are more likely to happen than others, and the impact of the risk can vary significantly. The use of these criteria can help identify those risks that require immediate attention. A simple matrix is useful to rank each risk on different levels of probability and impact. In this example, a 5x5 matrix is used. The team, based on their experience and information, will rank each risk with a probability and impact. For example, a risk with impact 4 and a probability 5 will have a value of 20 in the matrix. The matrix uses a range of colors to identify those risks that have a high priority versus those that have low priority. The decision to define the values depends on the organization's attitudes to risk. An organization that is risk-averse will mark more boxes as red. This means that risk in the range of 10 to 25 will be considered high. The next step is to select the response strategies for each range in the matrix. The response strategies are to avoid the risk, reduce or share the risk, and accept the risk. For risk marked in red, the response is to avoid the risk. This means developing an alternate strategy, a change in plans, the use of a different approach. This type of response requires a budget, and the analysis shows that the costs to avoid the risk are lower than the cost of risk impact on the project. Reduce a risk is a strategy to reduce or mitigate the impact of the risk, but will not eliminate it. One reason is that the costs are too high to avoid it, but the impact and probability are low that the project can still absorb some residual risk. Share means transferring the responsibility of the risk to a third party, for example, to buy insurance or hire a company to complete a work that has that level of risk. Accept is the response strategy when the probability and impact levels of the risk are low. In this case, the project manager decides that due to the low risk values, it's better to do nothing other than monitoring the risk. The costs of trying to avoid or mitigate are higher than the cost of the impact on the project. No proactive action is needed. A tool used to monitor the risk and track the changes over time is the project risk register, sometimes also called the project risk plan. It usually consists of 8 columns: a risk number, the description of the risk, the levels of impact and probability, the risk index, the corresponding risk response strategy, the name of the team member who's responsible for the action to respond to the risk, and the status of the response strategy. It is a good project management practice to review the register and update the levels of probability and impact based on new information. It is also quite common that new risk will be identified and the team will need to update the register.